On this episode of Deleted WrestleZone, we're going to talk about this week's Wednesday Night War between AEW Dynamite and WWE's NXT. It appears that certain things have now become interesting with the results of both the viewership and the ratings between both promotions. And now it appears that it looks like that WWE are going to counter program AEW's Fyter Fest by bringing back an old familiar name that we all know, but also it's close to Cody's name. So let's get ready to start another episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted WrestleZone, all things pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan, Impact Wrestling, various promotions, all matches, championships, individual wrestlers. I am your host, J-Rod here. So let's get started with the whole thing with the Wednesday Night War. It appears the result has finally came in about uh, AEW Dynamite and NXT. So here's what the viewership is. It appears for this week's viewership winner is NXT with the viewership of 786,000 views. But Dynamite AEW Dynamite actually obtained 633 views this week. They NXT have won officially this week's viewership, but the ratings is a different story. So apparently NXT only had 0.19 in the ratings, but AEW Dynamite has 0.22. So, in Leighton terms, as the Square Circle Psychobabble, who I watch constantly, always say the fans always win. So the only reason some of this have happened was maybe because some people were looking into what happened for AEW when the last finale when Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho brawl, but we'll get to that. But the biggest interest is when WWE announced during their NXT programming that they're bringing back the Great American Bash. It's going to last for 2 weeks on NXT. This is what people are saying, that this could be a counter program against AEW's Fyter Fest. It's also going to take place in 2 weeks. Now, we have seen WWE trying to counter program them before. If you recall last year, WWE were trying to use the Evolve promotion during a AEW Fight for the Fallen pay-per-view. That one was particularly was what some people were calling it a counter program, but WWE claimed that it was already planned and scheduled, all of that. But apparently, not a lot of people watched the Evolve. They were mostly watching the Fight for the Fallen, so they believe that this could work to have fans not to tune in into AEW Fyter Fest. Just they always try to have fans to turn away from AEW. They want to be like that. But recently in news, this came around when Dusty Rhodes' daughter um, blasts WWE for using a trademark name that was created by her father, the late American Dream Dusty Rhodes. As you all recall, for almost quite some time, Cody Rhodes, his son, the American Nightmare, was legally trying to obtain these trademark names that were created by his dad. An American Bash and another one, I cannot recall which one, were the only ones that were never obtained. Apparently, there's still some names that were never obtained. You ask yourselves, why is that important? As you all recall, ever since WCW folded, when they were bought, not a lot of the trademark names were used that were created by Dusty Rhodes. So they were just put on the shelf. But some of the trademark names no longer were licensed anymore. So Cody bought those names legally, and WWE were trying to prevent him from using them. As you recall, early this year they had the Bash at the Beach event at an AEW Dynamite event instead, which Vince was trying to stop him from using, but they were not using Bash at the Beach as a pay-per-view event. They were using it as an AEW event, for Dynamite, and they never said anything about that. So basically, they did use the name for a AEW Dynamite event. Um, so there was no harm done with that. But I don't know if this is their way to blast Cody where it hurts him the most. I'm not sure. We could see things like that as much as we want, but it is what it is. But all we can do is watch both shows, see how it goes. I mean, as people would say, you can DVR one or watch the one or the other. I don't know. It makes no difference. But hopefully they do have some good shows for both. But I do know that the AEW Fighter Fest card is going to be lit and very awesome. Not a whole lot with um, NXT for the Great American Bash, so we just gotta wait and see where they're gonna go with those matches. We do know for the July 8th it's gonna be Adam Cole versus Keith Lee, winner takes all. I'm excited for that. I know you guys are excited for that. So let's get started with this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zones, starting with this week's winners of the viewership, NXT. So, there was no recap for the start of the NXT. It started an hour early where they informed that Cameron Grimes took off after Damian Priest was attacked, and we all know who it was. As you all recall, Cameron Grimes was still blabbering about how he defeated Finn Balor, but Damian Priest thought that he was never going to beat him because he was forced to face him again because Finn Balor lost thanks to Damian Priest. So Cameron Grimes took him out by hurting him his ribs like around here, and it went like that. So the opening match of the evening was Cameron Grimes versus Damian Priest, but against the physician's orders, he decided to continue on. I know he put one hell of a battle against Cameron Grimes. Like we've seen those type of um, storylines where the guy is not going to let this injury to stop him, that he's going to continue on. He did every way possible to beat Cameron Grimes, but it wasn't enough. Cameron Grimes knew where it hurt him, so he got away with it by giving him the cave-in like a bunch of times in and outside of the ring. But Cameron Grimes took off. He's going to blabber out about how he defeated Damian Priest, and you know how the story goes. But this between them is far from over. Damian Priest will not let this go. He will get his revenge against Cameron Grimes if he continues to blabber his mouth. That's how it's going to be with this storyline. I have to say, I like where they're going to go with this one because, these two guys faced off Finn Balor and they both lost to him. Even though Cameron Grimes will not let his loss to him get the best of him. Then we move on to Rhea Ripley. She comes out about saying, she's happy for Io Shirai even though she won fair and square. It's not gonna hurt her, but we all know Rhea Ripley can get a shot at the title some point in the future or down the line. But again, Robert Stone comes up to her trying to sign her to the Robert Stone brand, and she wasn't having it. She doesn't like him. I mean, does Rhea Ripley need someone to be that guy? That's one of the things that was going on, and it was so funny. So she grabs Robert Stone and puts him in the dumpster. And because Aaliyah got in the way, Rhea Ripley told her, "You just earned a free ticket for a match." So Aaliyah kind of screwed herself by intervening in this. I thought it was so funny. I just enjoyed it. It was amazing. So, okay. Then we see again more of Timothy Thatcher's training sessions. Now, for some of you guys, if you don't understand, what is so special about Timothy Thatcher's style of wrestling with these sessions? He has a style that's called catch wrestling, basically it's like a hybrid where you do mat work and do submissions. Completely different. That's something we mostly see in a different way, but it's still unclear whether if he's trying to form a stable faction or not. We do know he was in a stable faction once before, but I don't know where they're gonna go. Then we jump in with a match between the leader of the Legado de Fantasma, Santos Escobar, formerly known as Hijo del Fantasma, versus Jake Atlas. Now, Jake Atlas wants revenge for what these guys did to Drake Maverick a week ago. Jake Atlas put a lot of fight into him to get his revenge, but as you know, Santos was too much. And don't forget his two little lackeys, Joaquin Wild and Raul Mendoza, were right there, as always. And of course, it was a great match. I missed some parts of the match, but I did hear that Jake lost. But I have that feeling that Jake and Drake Maverick might form their own group together, but they just need someone else to join them. But that's going to be interesting. Then we continue on with the Undisputed Therapy. If you all recall, a couple weeks ago during In Your House, um, Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish were kidnapped by Dexter Loomis, and they put him in the trunk. And Roderick Strong was still having delusional nightmares. He keeps seeing Dexter Loomis. He keeps running away. They even try to get Kyle O'Reilly to face his fears against Dexter Loomis being in his head. Last week it was so funny. So this time he was like saying, and then later when he was like saying, I'm gonna face him, I'm gonna get in the trunk, and then when he sees the doctor, it was Kyle O'Reilly, and he was like saying, look, I was looking into a role that I'm gonna be in the movie. So I thought it was so funny the way that turned out. I'm just loving it. And of course, he gets in the trunk just for a couple minutes, and he faces fear. So Adam Cole put him in a match against Dexter Loomis. Now, Roderick Strong acts like he wasn't ready. Like he knows he can beat him, but he just still needs a little time to get his head in the game. So that was like the match later that was set up. Now, there was an interview by Michael Bivens. Apparently, if you recall last week during the tag team match between Imperium's Aichner and Barthel versus Breezango, Indus Sher showed up. They seemed like they were going to hurt uh, Breezango, but the Brawlers, both Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, came to their rescue because they looked more like they were. But Michael Bivens did not like the idea. They think that, oh, they had no right to be there. They weren't going to hurt them. Come on. That's how it was. And they were not happy that both Lorcan and Burch got in the way. Now, Burch and Lorcan are well established. They want to make a name for themselves. They have been rivals before, but being a tag team has made them more of a formidable group that they should be. So, I don't know what Indus Sher said in their language because I don't understand. I think they're Hindu. Don't know what they were saying. And then we jump in with how the whole story between the triple threat match that was set for that night between Gargano and Lee and Balor. As you all know, Lee wants to get his hands on the NXT title that's currently held by Adam Cole. Adam Cole keeps saying that he is the longest reigning. That is a fact and truth right there. But Gargano claims that it's his destiny, that he needs to reshape NXT. But Balor, his goal is that he never held the North American Championship. So that's one of the things. And this is what led for the main event, the triple threat match between all three men, between Balor, Lee, and Gargano. Now, the next match we had is a women's tag team match between Katie Catanzaro and Kaden Carter versus Dakota Kai and Rachel Gonzalez. This one was a very more both Catanzaro and Carter put on a bit of a more aggressiveness in this match. It was good. I liked it, but it was not too. It was not enough to take down the big woman, Rachel Gonzalez, even though she's strong, big, and all this other stuff. So it was like very interesting. But Rachel Gonzalez did most of the work while Dakota tried to put some applications into it. As soon as the match was over, Dakota Kai and Rachel won. Dakota made a statement right into the camera saying to Io Shirai, the NXT is not hers. The title belongs to her. She and the title are in her crosshairs, believing that she will be the next NXT champion. But luckily for us, it's already been announced that Dakota Kai will be in a four-way match against Mia Yim, Candice LeRae, and of course Tegan Knox. So that's gonna be a killer match right there too. I can't wait to see that one. So the next match we had is Karrion Kross along with the the Angel of Doom, Scarlett versus Bronson Reed. As you recall, a week ago, Bronson Reed called out Karrion Kross after what happened a couple weeks ago with him, where he just attacked him from behind. So, but Bronson Reed did a lot of effort to put him down. But how do you stop a guy like Karrion Kross? I mean, you can't. But Karrion Kross, as always, he won by putting that submission move on him. But he did state it to Adam Cole. Tick tock. His time is almost up. I can't wait to see that because that's gonna be killer. Now we see an interview with Adam Cole. Now, of course, Adam Cole, he stated he doesn't care who's gonna win. He said the result will be the same. He's gonna walk out as the NXT champion and the North American champion. So it doesn't make no difference for him. None of them will be good enough to beat him. That's his word. But we'll see where they're gonna go with this. Then we see a little video package with Mercedes Martinez. We have yet to see her yet in NXT. We know she has done some brief appearances before the whole COVID-19 thing began. But I'm excited to see where she's coming, what she's gonna bring into the fan base, all this and that. Then we go to the Rhea Ripley versus Aaliyah match. This was like intimidation by Rhea Ripley to Aaliyah. We all know Aaliyah is scared of her, but Robert Stone wants her to be in her brand, but she's not having it. So basically, what Stone did was the dumbest thing ever. He threw his shoe at her, and she chased him. Who throws a shoe? Who throws a shoe at a woman? If it was me, I would run to the hills. Run to the hills. Run for your life. That's me. I would run to the hills. But no, he ran around in circles thinking that Leo could pin, but no. So basically, Rhea Ripley picked up the victory. So, it didn't work according to plan. So, Rhea Ripley won. Now, this match was the most funniest. Dexter Lumis versus Roderick Strong. And Bobby Fish was right there. He was trying to encourage Roderick Strong. He still is trying to get over him. He can't. He's trying to get his hands on him, but he can't. What does Roderick Strong does? He runs away. While he runs away, and Fish was right there. Come back here. Come back here. But he forgets. You got Dexter Lumis stalking you. It was so funny. I just enjoyed it. I'm like, I can't believe that happened. I'm just, wow. I can't believe it. But it did announce that Roderick Strong is going to be in a match at the Great American Bash against Dexter Lumis in a strap match where he will not run. Oh my god, that's so funny. Then we jump in with Robert Stone talking to William Regal. Now, we all know William Regal gets annoyed when people complain to him about certain things that didn't go his way. So he wants a rematch against Rhea Ripley for Aaliyah. So basically, William Regal decided, you know what, it's going to be you two. Aaliyah and Robert Stone versus Rhea Ripley in a handicap match. So he didn't like it, but he kind of had an idea. He said, okay, if Rhea Ripley loses, she has no other choice but to join to Robert Stone brand. So, but Ripley has no mind. I think she throws in a bit of the intimidation to Robert Stone. I thought it's just too hilarious. Now we jump into the main event for the North American Championship between Gargano, Finn Balor, and Keith Lee. Oh my god, this match was amazing. I loved it. Great storyline between all three men. We all know where the one. Johnny Gargano wants to change the ways of NXT under his vision. Finn Balor never hold the North American Championship, but he wants to regain what he lost since he left. And Keith Lee, we all know he's limitless. Great match. I love everything. Like, they all knew the only common threat was in the ring was Keith Lee. You got a big guy who is very athletic, very strong. That was a great psychology right there. You got to take out the big guy. And it worked. You know, I would have done the same thing. But it worked. And, you know, I'll just skip ahead. You know, I'm going to skip ahead. Keith Lee won. So, basically, we all now know who's going to face Keith Lee. Who's going to face Adam Cole is Keith Lee, winner take all. That's going to be on July 8th on NXT for the Great American Bash. So, you guys, hope you guys get to see it. I'm ready to see it. So, that's the end for NXT. So, let's move on with AEW Dynamite. Alright, so we're here with AEW Dynamite. So, it started out with the Lumberjack match between Wardlow and Luchasaurus. This came about a week ago when Luchasaurus, well, MJF was in the face of Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus was in the face of Wardlow. So basically, this is one of those matches we were like, want to see these two behemoths face off. You know, that was one of the things we wanted to see for quite some time, and now it happened. Finally, we get to see it. So it was a great match. There was a moment where Luchasaurus was outside the ring, hurt. Jungle Boy came out to see him, but he got tossed by Wardlow to the heel side. And they were beating him. And then here comes Marco Stunt jumping, doing a little 450 splash on them. I'm like, damn. It's becoming a brawl outside of the ring with the Lumberjacks. Then we see, what was it? Luchasaurus doing the shooting star press outside the ring when he tossed Wardlow out. I'm like, dang, the guy did the shooting star press, the shooting star press outside. A big guy from his size. I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. MJF, well, we all know he was outside, but I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. He distracted the ref, gives the chance for Wardlow to give the low blow to Luchasaurus, but this was far from over. Tony Khan announced on the post-match, giving the news to JR, that on Fyter Fest it's going to be MJF and Wardlow versus Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus. I'm excited to see that. This is going to be one of those exciting matches. Now, keep in mind, MJF is still undefeated as a single competitor, but how's he going to do in a tag team setting? We do know that the Jurassic Express are undefeated currently in, well, they have won at least 4 or 5 trios matches. So I'm excited for that. Then we go to a women's match between Red Velvet versus Hikaru Shida. Now this one became more of a squash match because during the entire time when Hikaru Shida came out, Kip Sabian got into her face, trying to get her attention, saying that she's going to lose the title to Penelope Ford. But Hikaru Shida was not messing around, so she took out Red Velvet just like that. And then she decided, right after the match, to get her hands up Penelope Ford. And there was a moment she sucker punched Kip Sabian, and one of his lenses from sunglasses came off. It was so intense because Kip Sabian will do whatever it takes to ensure his girlfriend wins. But we'll see how that goes because we do know Hikaru Shida and Penelope Ford are in the first night for the AEW World's Women's Championship match on July 1st, I think. So that's how it's going to be. And then we see a little press conference between Cody Rhodes and Jake Hager. But what happened is Jake Hager was nowhere to be found. To Cody, that's a sign of disrespect. You don't set up a press conference and not show up. So Cody and Arn Anderson gave their minds what's been happening. But, you know, that's how it is. Arn Anderson said it's disrespectful You're stupid. You claim to be a top flight athlete. Where are you? That's what he was looking at. But of course, Hager showed up, just took the photo op, puts his fist right in his face, like trying to get his attention, and then all of a sudden, he's trying to get to his head, and then Hager's wife grabs a glass of water and tosses it to his face. If I were you, lady, I wouldn't do anything stupid if you show up at Fyter Fest. You don't want to mess with Brandy Rhodes. She will do the exact same thing to Jake Hager. And trust me, you wish you could have just said, because she was not happy the fact that he lost the world title to Moxley. But we'll see how that goes in Fyter Fest too. Now the next thing we see is a little video package with Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. Now, apparently Joey Janela hasn't been himself of a late, so basically he's still trying to understand who he is. But Sonny Kiss reminded him that they're good better as a tag team, and of course Joey agrees. So they stop at a gas station. He goes inside the convenience store while Sonny Kiss was being harassed by a couple of thugs. He tries to fight them off, and then when Joey comes out, he sees it. He intervenes. He's like, "I feel a lot better now." So the next match goes on is Colt Cabana teaming with the Exalted One, Mr. Brodie Lee. Now, it's still unclear what's going on. Is he going to join the Dark Order, or what? So they're facing off against Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. But I have to say, Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss did a lot of great effort. We know they are doing great as a tag team. I would love to see them more as a tag team. But of course, you cannot deny the strength of Brodie Lee, all this and that, and of course, you can't forget 3 and 4. Alex Reynolds and John Silver were out there, as always, following orders from Mr. Brodie Lee. And because of that, it resulted of Colt Cabana and Brodie Lee winning the match. But I do give hands down a great effort by Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss to put a fighting spirit against them. But post-match, what happens? Lance Archer shows up and attacked them both. Attack Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. And Lance Archer is out of control. He's damn. But the next match we have was originally supposed to be the Natural Nightmares, QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes versus FTR, but the match was officially changed 6 hours prior. Reason is QT Marshall got his doctor notified him that he might have contracted the COVID-19 through a non-wrestling acquaintance. So he notified Tony Khan and told him to stay in Georgia, get checked out and see how it goes. So the match was officially changed to SCU, Frank Kazarian, and CD. Now, I'm going to try to pause it for a second. I don't know if this change was the reason that the viewership was low for them because of that. I mean, look, we have to understand some things don't go according to plan, but AEW are taking the whole thing with keeping everyone safe very seriously, and I commemorate them for being that company that are doing that. Unlike WWE, they don't think of that often. But back into the match, it was great to see FTR and SCU fight off. I say this is one of those matches that was one of the best ones for tag team, and I enjoyed it. It was great. You have two different styles of teams, facing off. And of course, the victory goes to FTR. Now, post-match, they were talking about all the tag teams in the world, and guess who gets in their face? The Butcher and the Blade. They got into their truck, and they told them that they were going to face them in an 8-man tag team, where FTR are teaming up with the Young Bucks. They will have to face the Butcher and the Blade against the return of the Los Lucha Brothers. We haven't seen them for quite some time. We know that Rey Fenix was injured before Double or Nothing. But now the Lucha Brothers are back. All we need is Pac and Death Triangle are back together. So we just gotta wait and see where they're gonna go with that. But it resulted Young Bucks came out to save them, but of course the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade just took off in FTR's truck. So that's one of those things that came around. Then we see a video package that leads to the Best Friends versus Kenny Omega and Hangman. Now, we know that the Best Friends have been together for a lot of years and all this and that. But as for Kenny Omega and Hangman, we can agree they just formed this tag team just like that. They won the tag team. But the real question is, how is this going to work and who's going to walk out? And Best Friends made an interesting comment. They never held tag team gold in their careers. And that could be a factor they could win at Fyter Fest. We're not sure. But I'm excited for that. Now the next match, well, this next video package was from Brian Cage to Moxley and all this and that. And then we jump into the match that was supposed to be John Cruz versus Jon Moxley, but again, another situation took place. Jon Moxley also contracted with the COVID-19 through a non-wrestling acquaintance. So basically, he already notified Tony Khan hours ahead of time, and he decided to stay at his home in Vegas. Just so you guys know, his wife also contracted with COVID-19 too. But it was changed to Brian Cage, and of course, ended in a squash match. Taz gave a little post match comments saying that he gave this BX excuse not being there, all this and that he will walk out as the world champion because who could stop the path of Cage? That's always been the statement for Brian Cage the entire time. But we'll just see. Hopefully, Jon Moxley can be better because the match between them will take place on the second night. So we'll see how that goes with there. Hopefully, Jon Moxley doesn't have to relinquish the title. Hope he's better by the time he gets there. Then we see a backstage little thing with Brody Lee and Colt Cabana. Colt happy that they won the match, and Mr. Brody Lee happy that to see he's satisfied. But he told them that at Fyter Fest they will face off against all three members of SCU. So he decided to recruit Stu Grayson to be part of it. The only reason Brody Lee wanted this match is to show SCU were the first group that did not believe the story about the Exalted One. So basically, they hadn't forgotten. But at the same time, Colt is now conflicted, knowing that he's facing off against three friends that he has fought alongside with before. He doesn't know what to make of it. So we don't know how the story is going to go, but I'm very interested to see. Then we have Britt Baker, again blabbering, again, as always. And if you recall last week, she got tossed in the dumpster by Big Swole. So she put a protected plexiglass shield around her. But Big Swole was a lot smarter than she looked. Apparently, there was no plexiglass on top of her. So she tossed her some trash. So I don't think Britt Baker is the smartest person to think of that. Now, this next match was officially supposed to be Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy, but that match was changed to Santana. Now, if you all recall what happened to Sammy, he's officially suspended without pay by AEW due to some comments that he said about Sasha Banks 4 years ago, and of course they had to move on with the show. So Santana was the one who stepped in, facing off against either Broken, Unkillable, or Original Matt Hardy. So he came out as Broken, Damascus. It was so great. I love the match. It was unbelievable. But of course, Ortiz was there as always, watching his back, making sure the match goes his way. But it did not. Ended very badly with Santana losing to Matt Hardy, but Ortiz wanted to take him out. But all of a sudden, here comes Private Party to save the day. And this is far from over between them. So we do know that the Private Party and will be facing against Ortiz and Santan at Fighter Fest as well. So I'm excited for that. Now the the, the way this AEW ended is the face off between Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. Now Jericho gave his peace of mind, saying that he never get it. Why? Who's Orange Cassidy? Why did they hire him? Why did he hire this garbage? And their response, they love him. But it turned into a brawl as soon as Orange Cassidy grabbed the mic. It went from the ring to the stands, but oh my god, I will never forget. He gave him the Superman punch and pushed him through a table. That was a great ending that could lead to the instant rivalry between Jericho and Orange Cassidy coming up at Fighter Fest at the second night. But of course, Orange Cassidy was bleeding from the ear, so he's fine. We'll just gotta wait and see what's gonna happen at Fyter Fest. I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited. So stay tuned for my final thoughts for this particular segment. We'll go from there, and I'll be right back for more. My final thoughts for this Wednesday Night War. I have to say, both shows were great. Now, I don't know what was the reasons of the viewership where NXT 1 and NXT and AEW Dynamite were low. I can see a few variables on this. Maybe because of the change of the matches that were scheduled. If you all recall, I said FTR were supposed to face against the Natural Nightmares between Dusty Rhodes and QT Marshall. But QT Marshall contracted the COVID-19 through a non-wrestling acquaintance in Georgia. So that could be one of the possibilities that many fans were like hoping to see QT Marshall during the match. But please understand, it's all about safety for AEW. They don't want no one to contract the virus, because I know there's been reports coming in from other wrestling news that several WWE personnel also contracted. But Moxley, we do know he got contracted, but he viewed it. But we'll see how that goes. I know everything will be great. But like I said, both shows were great with great storylines, great comedy. I enjoyed it. But like people say, the fans always win. For all you hardcore WWE fans, I get it. I get the fact you're saying, AEW is full of shit. They're garbage and this and that. I get it. I get you don't like AEW. Stop. Just because NXT won this week on the viewership doesn't mean it's the end of AEW. It's not. It'll never end. You know why? Because there's still fans are still watching. AEW are the kind of people that will figure out how to make a show better than the last week. How can they top this match? How can they top this storyline? That's what they do. Understand that. You think they care that you guys don't like them? No. They care about is putting on a good show. But I keep saying to everyone, the fans always win. But for all you WWE hardcore fans, just shut up and enjoy the show for once. Enjoy it. I know some fans are currently talking about Vince getting involved in NXT, and they're saying, oh, it's the end of NXT now that Vince is man. I don't know that. I don't know if it's going to be the end. I don't know exactly what he's going to do. We all know what he was capable of. We know that he didn't do well with Raw and SmackDown. And Triple H has been trying to get him off of NXT. But Vince said that NXT has been a failure. I mean, no, it's not. It's still good. But the problem is that there's certain things that they're missing. I can't say what. But it is what it is. Don't say that it's over for AEW. It's not over. They will come on top as always. There have been some weeks that we've seen AEW loses, and it's normal. It's normal. That's how it goes. I enjoyed both matches. I enjoyed the Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor. I enjoyed every match that NXT had to put out. I enjoy everything. I do the same thing with AEW. I'm a hardcore pro wrestling fan. I love watching wrestling. If you guys cannot accept that, then why are you watching it? For all you hardcore fans, like I said before, just shut up and enjoy the show. Don't worry about what AEW is doing. They have their own thing to worry about. Worry about how the WWE is going to do better. If you're into that. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. So, I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice, lovely day. Bang!